It's a big day for the crypto markets as well as the traditional markets for one big reason, and that's because we're getting the CPI read later on today. So we'll assess whether this means we're going to have continuation towards the upside, or are we going to be looking at a little bit of a pullback. We'll also address for the people who have been sidelined, what you should be doing next. Is now a good time to be getting into the market on these small little red days, right? Is the dip going to be shallow? So smash the like button, hit the bell notification, and subscribe to the channel. And let's get into it immediately, right? So you can see, of course, a little bit of a pullback over here in the market. Some of the biggest gainers, of course, no surprise on a day like this, would be the biggest on the day down. But that's what your weekly looks like, right? Still very, very, very strong weekly candles over there. And we will assess today, is it a good time to get in, or is this lower high territory still, right? We have CPI coming out. This is going to be the driving factor for volatility leading into today. And this is currently what the trueflation, which I would think is the most accurate when it comes to the inflation reads, this is what it's currently suggesting. You can see inflation has been plummeting, right? Overall, it's been coming down pretty aggressively. But if you look more recently, it has had a slight tick towards the upside over here. So, we'll see what the Fed says about that. That could be bringing a little bit of volatility, possibly a short-term correction if inflation does come in higher than expected, right? As you can currently see, it's currently forecasted that it's going to be coming in at 2.4%. Remember, this inflation read is going to be slightly different to trueflation. Trueflation already suggests that it is, of course, below that 2% read. And let's just quickly see over here. So previous was 2.4. They're forecasting it at the same level. If it comes in anything above 2.4, of course, that's going to bring in a little bit of a pullback. Stock market fear and greed index now really, really pushing into that greed zone, sitting at 66. Crypto sitting at 70 over there in the fear and greed index, and high leverage traders are getting absolutely rinsed. So I'd absolutely encourage you guys to be really, really careful out there. What's actually interesting is what I'm just noticing right now. You have a little bit of disparity over here on the 24-hour long-short ratio, where you actually have a little bit more on the short side, right? That always opens up the possibility that you could get continuation of the short squeeze. So I didn't notice that until right now. That's interesting. That suggests that probably you might see one more spike towards the upside, right? As the market participants do shift short. So 24-hour liquidations, almost $1 billion again, which is pretty significant. This is where we see major pivot points within the market. Now, if the inflation read comes out a little bit higher than expected, one of the things that I want to outline over here, which sometimes can be a little bit of indication as what could come next, is the DXY chart, right? Remember, we outlined a very, very long time ago at this period in time where we're looking for the deviation above the top side of the trading range. You can see we very clearly marked out the range high, we got the mid-range, and we got the range low, and then you got that deviation, and now you potentially deviated once again, right? If the DXY can't break back down any further over here, that may be a little bit of an indication that money is going to flow back into the dollar. And typically, it's not always 100% inversely correlated, but typically when the dollar goes down, risk on assets rally. And when the dollar moves towards the upside, risk on assets tend to struggle a little bit, right? So that is food for thought. If we look at what happened in the prior times, and I marked off with these little vertical lines over here running down the screen, what happened previously when the DXY came into that level and what it did to Bitcoin, there were short-term corrections, right? It wasn't catastrophic or anything like that. But within this overall bull market, you can see the last time we put in a 20% correction over there. The next time we put in a 16% correction. And the time after that, when we bounced off of this level, we put in an 8.5% correction, right? So if we continue to maintain within the zone over here, that is a little bit of food for thought. And maybe it lines up with an inflation read that doesn't come out positive. So we'll analyze all the various different things. Gold as well, coming into its range low support over here on the 4-hourly chart, but higher time frame, we do believe that there's a good chance that gold has topped. So a little bit of contrary signals going on over here, where you have the DXY coming into support, which does suggest possibly a short-term correction. But if gold is topped out and we're going to put in a major correction for gold, that's also typically a flight away from safety and into risk, where you tend to see V-shaped recoveries in the stock market and crypto going up. So we'll look at the stock market as well. Now, we need to wait for the puzzle pieces to come together with more information to see what happens next. But what I'll be looking for in gold over here is if gold can set in another lower high, or possibly it runs up all the way into the super fib over here, which is going to be the 786 to 886 level, and puts in a swing failure pattern. So maybe you see something like that with another swing failure pattern. Then there's a possibility that you can actually start to enter into short trades on gold with your stop loss slightly above those highs over there. Because remember, high time frame, we're looking at the TD sequential 9 count on multiple different time frames from as high up as let's just quickly go to it on the yearly over there, which says or suggests that gold has topped on a yearly scale. At some point this year, gold should top. We then had a look as well, I believe it was on the 3-month scale. Wait, that's a 6-month scale. Let's just go back to the 3-month scale. And we saw the same thing, right? TD sequential 9 top, that's Tom DeMark's exhaustion count, right? Where he shows trend exhaustion and possibly reversal of the trend. And then we had the weekly as well, which came onto the 9 count top, and the daily a couple of days ago as well, also on a 9 count top over there. And that's exactly where that top did occur, right? And since then, you've been pulling back. So waiting for a little bit more confirmation on gold. The way that I would play this is either A, you watch gold rally up and set in a lower high somewhere over here, or B, you lose the pink box, which is your demand zone on the daily. If you start to break underneath this trading range, then you're going to consider that a big topping zone over here where you're going to lead into possible distribution. So that's what we're looking at for gold, right? It's important to look at these things because the macro is still pretty important. The last, I would say almost a year even, has really been macro driven with Trump coming in and the trade tariff wars, all these kind of things that are going on. And therefore, it's going to affect what crypto is going to do next as well. So if we look at the stock market as well, this is where you're in an interesting spot and you have to determine, are we V-shaped recovering, or is this just a really heated, a dead cat bounce that's going to lead into another drop towards the downside? And if you look at what Ryan, CMT trader over here, says, he says only 3 times in history has the S&P 500 been down at least 15% within a given year and then moved back into positive territory by the end of that year. And he says, call me crazy, but he thinks that this year will be year number 4, right? Which would indicate V-shaped recoveries. But I guess if you're siding with probability, well, the probability of this chart would suggest that it wouldn't. But I do tend to agree with him for the simple reason that we know that when a new president comes in and his administration takes over, he usually wants to lead into midterms, which is going to be leading up to next year. He wants to go into that pretty strong, right? With it, and we know Trump loves the stock market. That's one of his things where he says, you know, it's a measure or a litmus test to how well he's doing as if the stock market is up. So there is a chance that you're going to lead into that V-shaped recovery. And right now it's looking very strong, right? Prices are moving towards the upside very quickly. Look at that strong day that we had yesterday. And that's going to be the same on QQQ as well as various other charts, right? Coinbase as well. Coinbase had a pretty big move towards the upside on the daily. It has given up some of those gains, but yesterday you did put in a big move. And part of the reason was this, right? Coinbase is now the first crypto company added into the S&P 500, right? So as Yano says over here, it makes him very happy knowing that starting from Monday, even people who despise crypto will now have to own a piece of this industry, which is crypto, right? So smash the like button if you like that. So if you want to trade any of these, right? If you want to trade Coinbase, if you want to look for the short trade on QQQ, or even if you want to trade any of the currencies over there, the FX pairs, I do want to remind you, BTCC is giving you a 10% bonus on first-time depositors. So if you deposit $10,000, you'll get $1,000. That is real money, right? That they're giving you. You can actually use that. If you lose on trades, they'll take from the sign-up bonus that you've received over there, right? So all of these are listed. S&P 500, these are my favorites, at least that I trade on BTCC. S&P 500, we have gold. We have Meta, which has actually outperformed Bitcoin, believe it or not, since the cycle lows. But I think now that's top. We have MicroStrategy, Tesla, Apple, Coinbase, NVIDIA, and then you still have crypto pairs over there as well. So let's get into crypto. What does this all mean for crypto? What is crypto's most likely outcome? Well, we said as long as the daily exchange volume continues to trend towards the upside, and this has been the first notable change, right? So we also address, you know, for the sideline participants, have you missed it all? Is it all over, right? Well, according to this, we've only just started to turn a corner, right? If we are about to move back into a strong trending move, then as long as the 7-day daily exchange volume continues to maintain the structure and base out over here in the form of high highs and high lows, that's going to be looking relatively good for continuation, right? We also know that there's still a lot of momentum that bulls have on the high time frames, most notably on the weekly, 2 weekly, 3 week, and the monthly time frame, where they can still really continue to bulldoze this thing through. Total cryptocurrency market cap, or total 3, I should suggest, which is the true altcoin sector, is not looking so good if it closes here, right? But will we get continuation higher? Remember, this is the order block. Already Bitcoin has taken out that order block. Total cryptocurrency market cap has taken out that order block. I think total 2, let's just review that, has not. So total 2 and total 3 has not yet taken out that area, which means you still theoretically could put in a lower high within this region and come down. That would be the equivalent of complacency bounce within the market. So the question, right, if you're sidelined, are you too late for the party? And I think that Ansem addresses this really well, because he's also looking at something similar on total 3, which is that order block, a little bit of a more loose drawing style than what I have, but nevertheless, there it is. He says, over here, also don't believe there's much reason to panic, right? If you've missed the move until now, if you haven't dipped a single toe in the water, you haven't taken any positions since the lows, and you've missed it, there's not really any reason to panic, he says, right? If you believe that we are again shifting the bullish environment, then none of the coins have even come close to making new all-time highs yet, and most have not even left their accumulation ranges to start a new trend, right? You'd be therefore looking for massive expansion towards the upside, which means really you don't have to panic in the greater scheme of things if we're going to have continuation of the cycle. Remember, one of the things we looked at is the catch-up phase for the purple zone over here. Purple line over here represents this current bull market, and therefore you have that to look forward to, is a real catch-up. It's still relatively early, right? So with that being said, what about Bitcoin? We spoke about this yesterday. We said, watch for the pullback into the zone over here. How low could it go? I mean, this is the tricky part, right? In strong trending moves, it becomes really, really difficult, which is why I encourage people to instead scale orders in, right? So you're targeting this massive candle that occurred on Thursday, the 8th of May. Stop loss, as we highlighted, would be below that level. And basically, you would stagger your orders through. And now some of those have been hit. You would have probably been filled on about half your orders into that $100,000 territory. And there's a possibility for the short squeeze based on what we outlined over here in this chart over here, where you can see, okay, it's rebalancing, right? This was sitting at almost 51% just now. So it's starting to come back into order over there. But that's what we're looking at over there. Price coming into the fair value gap. You've essentially tested that fair value gap. So long as you can hold this fair value gap now, I guess people will very quickly start to place their stop losses underneath yesterday's low. So very, very interesting. However, one thing I would highlight as well is that this has been a very, very extended move, right? Of course, from low to high, it's been 42% for Bitcoin. That's always a sizable move. And it's becoming more and more difficult in the shorter term for bulls to maintain the RSI towards the upside. If the RSI starts trending down, which is measured by this yellow horizontal over here, which it currently means if price doesn't get back above $103,300, then your RSI will start to come down. If that continues to persist, that's where you start to print those bearish divergences on the daily time frame. So it's not relevant today, but we'll outline this in the coming days. As it currently stands, everything is pretty clear. This is your range high, right? Break and hold above the range high, and you have likely continuation. So if you see something like that, a big strong move up, that you're looking to hold that as support, and that becomes continuation into new all-time highs for Bitcoin. And actually, given that you've been holding a pretty solid range over here, you could actually probably work out a little bit of a measured move based off that. So I'd be measuring from the low to the high, and the breakout of that, let's just see where that puts Bitcoin. That would actually take Bitcoin to about 140,000. I have similar targets on the upside based on the 1.618 fib extension, which is coming around that $125,000 region. And then we also had a look at, the bearish divergence on the weekly time frame, which is still relevant, right? On the high time frames like the weekly, your RSI would be coming into resistance level. I can try and see if I have it over here and pull it into view for you guys. Let's just see. Do I have it? Here we have it. This one over here. So what I'm talking about is this. So in alignment with some of those higher targets, right? We said they're up to 140. It comes into a couple of key areas like that. If you have price bulldozing all the way through, you're going to meet this trend line, right? So I've measured from wick to wick, and I've also measured through the wick into the bodies over here to try and get the lines of best fit. Now, it depends when that happens, but again, anywhere between 123 and 126, in my opinion, would be a major profit-taking zone, especially if you start to see the RSI coming into here and acting as resistance. If the RSI comes into here and smashes through, no problem. Then you start to look for much higher prices, right? That's just to give you a little bit of perspective. So short squeeze, is it possible? Well, according to the liquidity, it is, right? You still have that liquidity stacked above, much more above than there is below. Currently sitting at, if price moves into that 105K region, not that many shorts, will get liquidated, but it's still something, right? 16 million as it currently stands. I want to remind you how many were liquidated on the long side yesterday, 520 million, right? Massive liquidation. So we'll keep an eye on how that unfolds over there. Another thing I'm keeping a very close eye on, one of the most important charts to me right now is the USDT dominance, right? Because the USDT dominance was respecting this trend line, right? You could see over here, price or the USDT dominance, which we want to see this go down if you're bullish, right? Which we're all bullish. We all want crypto to go up, but we also realists, right? And we watch the rejection, constant rejection, grinding into this. And now for the first time, you've had a shift of that momentum, right? Which is why I think this is a very important chart to focus on. And if you've been to whale school, you'll know that I tell you that diagonals are not that important to me. I do look at them, but my much more critical things that I look at in terms of the order of significance is always going to be horizontals. And even if you look at that from a horizontal perspective, right, you could see over here, this was previous support, price rallied above, then it came into this act as resistance, and now that's the question mark, right? Are we starting to flip this pink box into support? If we're flipping this into support, it's going to make it difficult for altcoins to rally, right? So you have to try and determine what exactly is happening here. Are we putting in high lows? If we do come into the zone and you start to flip this into support, that could lead into a pullback, right? And then the next level to watch is going to range between these two zones, right? So then you can watch and see what happens when price gets into this zone over here. You can take scalp longs into the top side of that trading range, but I'll update you as it unfolds, right? This is low time frame. I'm now looking at the 15-minute time frame, but watch as price comes into this zone over here. If it acts as support, puts in a higher low, you have a little bit of a trend line that's forming over there. So keep an eye out on that. You know, that could be difficult for the bulls in that environment. So for that reason, I'm going to look to take a little bit of profits over here, right? We have all the trades open that we opened up, some of them like a couple of weeks ago. The other ones on the top over here, like 𝗪𝗡, Chain, Sonic, and 𝗏𝗏, we opened up just before this massive pump happened. I'm going to be taking some of the profits off of these trades. This is on Pionex. So for those of you that took this with me, remember, you can copy these, right? For anyone that didn't take these, you can copy these. We'll be opening up new ones as well. Remember when I told you, follow the show every day, put the bell notification on, follow me on Twitter, all those things, because if I close or make adjustments on the bots, although you can copy them, this is not copy trading, right? If I make a change over here, you need to do it manually on your own side. It's not going to, like if I stop this bot now, it's not going to stop your bot for you, right? So very important. So if you do want to participate, firstly, use that link. It qualifies you for a sign-up bonus. I believe it's $1,000 that you can get. And then you just simply come here and copy the bots that I've given, or you can create your own. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the WIF one, right? We're up nicely on this. $3,000 in less than a week. Beautiful trade. And we didn't even risk that much money. So let's go into the details, right? So I don't know, how long have we even had this open for? We opened this bot, there we go, on the 8th. So in 5 days, we did really well over here, $3,000 worth of profit off of a $2,000 investment, right? Massive, very good. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to stop the bot. I'm going to go to more over here, and I'm going to release the profits. All right, that's what we're going to do. We're going to release the profits. So there we go. There we go. Let's just say all. Release some of the profits over there. Okay, that's what we're doing on that one. I'm going to do the same thing on these. I'm just simply going to release the profits that we've currently made. And okay, there we go. Release the profits as well on this one. Let's quickly do that. And then for the others, I'm going to leave them. I might stop some of the bots Okay, I might stop some of the bots. If we look at, for example, let's just scroll down. If we look at 𝗬𝗍, the price is currently higher than the upper limit. So the bot arbitrage has stopped. Let's see if we can view this bot. I need to go back over here. Let's just go to the futures trading and let's go to our bot. So if you look over here and we click on 𝗬𝗍, there it is, right? Price broke through our upper limits because initially we were buying 𝗬𝗍 in this low region down here. And then we started to sell as price moved up, right? So my expectation was at the time we're watching into the lower high structure over here or into the SR flip region, resistance zone. And that's where I started to stop that bot. So what I'm going to do is, because it's already played out, this one I'm going to stop completely. So 𝗬𝗍, we're going to stop. We're going to take all the profits on 𝗬𝗍. Let's check the rest of them. ETH is still good to go, right? ETH is still busy selling, right? We're selling ETH all the way up to $2,800, and we bought into that lower region over there. Okay, next one, let's quickly check on the Solana bot. Okay, Solana, I'm still going to leave it to push up a little bit more. So we were looking to buy Solana into the green, and we're selling it up here into about 190. I'm going to leave that one. That one's still open. 𝗵𝗡, let's check 𝗵𝗡. Okay, 𝗵𝗡, I'm still going to leave for possibly another push up. That one looks good. Let's quickly check Sonic. That one looks fine. Bearer Chain, this one also looks fine for continuation. And of course, 𝗬𝗡. 𝗬𝗡 has already played out a beautiful move. I'll leave it for a little bit longer. We'll monitor this one. I'll update you on this if we do make any other changes. Okay, so that is the Pionex bot update for you guys. We can have a look at the rest of the charts, give your altcoin requests if you have any. We've printed the Monday range, right? So typically the way that you play the Monday range is I like to watch for a sweep of either side, and that opens up your trade opportunity. Now, it doesn't always work, but it has worked a lot of the time over the last couple of months. I would say last 2 to 3 months, this has done very, very well. So the general idea is, of course, if Bitcoin does come down over here and it sweeps that Monday low, once it reclaims the Monday low, you open up the long trade over there into the Monday range, stop loss goes below. So here's where your stop loss would be, right? Just below there. And then you start to target the top side. Okay, so we'll see what the CPI does if it gives us a trade trigger, which so far we don't have anything. Here is Ethereum, right? Same thing, looking for the sweep. I think Solana already swept. So if we look at Solana, there it is. Solana already swept the Monday level. So as soon as that candle broke inside, unfortunately, I wasn't awake when this happened. Otherwise, I would have probably taken the trade. As soon as that happened over there, you look for the long trade, stop loss goes below. Now, the next best thing that you can do on something like Solana is wait to see if maybe you come down one more time. If you do come down one more time, you can start to manually re-enter that trade. Stop loss goes below. Let's see 𝗬𝗍. Has 𝗬𝗍 done anything? Okay, no sweep yet of those levels. TON. Okay, TON, we're still in a long. This one's done the sweep, right? So if you didn't take the TON long when we gave it over here, theoretically, you know, that's your deviation into the Monday range over there. You could be looking at that trade with stop loss slightly below. Let's see Sonic. Okay, Sonic, same thing. Okay, this one we're starting to go into the red on, but maybe you didn't take the trade. Same story as TON. Sweeps back into the Monday range over there. Stop loss goes slightly below. What about 𝗖𝗍? Okay, hasn't swept anything. So the ones that haven't swept, you can kind of put on your watch list over there. As long as it can hold that level, it opens up a trade opportunity. Okay, you got a beautiful. This one was such a nice one. Look at that on Near Protocol. You know, you ultimately swept that. This one, you got such a nice entry over there. Stop loss below. Maybe you get another chance if it comes back into that zone, right? If it gains acceptance below Monday low, then you invalidate, right? But generally speaking, we expect the volatility of Monday to provide the trading range. And then you get very, very good risk to reward trades, right? I know we're doing a little bit of hindsight trading over here, but nevertheless, I just want to show you what it would look like, right? So if you're looking on a low time frame like this, this would be your long setup, right? And maybe you'll still get this trade, right? But if you look at something like that, once you print that low, that's what your setup looks like, right? It becomes almost a 10 to 1. Of course, you take some profits along the way, like into the mid-range. So you at least get out like 4 or 5 R on a trade like that. That is your Monday range trade. Okay, let's see. Anything else? Casper. Casper also swept the Monday low. Look at that perfect reclaim into the Monday low over there. Now you start to target up to the Monday high. Bearer Chain, since we're in the bot trade over there, let's have a look at this. Also swept the Monday low, reclaimed, and you can start to trade that up. Already, you would have reduced your risk completely. But it looks like a lot of you would have had to be awake pretty early when it comes to this, right? Let's just see some of those, the time zones over there. What do I have it under here? Market session times. Let's just quickly put that on. So a lot of this happened during the Asia session, right? So I know a lot of you watching live right now, UK, and then all the US guys are coming later. But look at that. You don't always, sometimes the US session gets the best trading time. Sometimes it's Asia. In this instance, today, Asia were the winners, right? Sweeps the low, reclaims, looking decent. Also, if you do want to learn more about this, by the way, guys, there's a massive incentive for you. I'm actually going to be essentially paying you to join Whale School, which is unreal. Let me explain exactly how that works, right? There's 6 days left to go. Use the links in the description below to sign up, right? You can sign up to any one of these exchanges. For example, like you can sign up over there to 𝗏𝗏𝗏, or you can sign up to 𝗪𝗥. The user ID that gets generated by signing up will be used to gain access, to unlock full access to not only my trading school, but any of the trading schools. Now, the opportunity for the first, I think it's 1,500 of you that I'm doing this for. The first 1,500 of you that join Whale School for this particular cohort, I'm going to be actually buying a Bitfunded account for you if you complete the course, right? That's an if, right? You have to complete and unlock full access. And then you need to go through all the various different trading lessons. So you can see over here, here are some of the trading lessons. You need to go through every single one. We can see if you've done it or not. If you've done it, I'm going to pay out of my own pocket. I'm going to give you the first 1,500 people a Bitfunded account. Call that your certificate at the end of the course, right? You've completed the course. You can now go and trade a Bitfunded account. That is, I'll need to double check which one I'm going to be doing. But these accounts go up to $100,000, right? Okay, so use it or don't use it. The links are below for you. Okay, let's see. What else? Let's go into some chart requests. What else is it that you're looking for? Virtuals. We can have a look at virtuals. Let's just go maybe on a little bit of a higher time frame over here, and let's just turn off those market sessions, and let's see. Okay, so virtuals. This is under, these are the AI agents, right? Virtuals is the platform that launches AI agents. Okay, so yeah, had a strong move towards the upside. All in all, it's looking good. Same thing as everything. You're targeting the yearly open. I mean, your invalidation is very clear. You just don't want to break below those candles over there. So the closer you can get your entry to there, the better. You know, it still probably provides a favorable risk to reward trade. Let's assume you sweep the Monday low today and you get your trade entry over there. Stop loss goes over here. You target to the yearly open. There's your swing trade, right? 3.53 to 1 risk to reward ratio. So any sweep below, let's zoom in. Have you swept it yet? Not yet, right? You may miss it. They don't all sweep. Not every single one will sweep. But if it did, for example, if you see the price come down into that zone and it holds, especially if you can get it closer towards the previous month's high, if you start to see price dropping over here like that, tags the previous month's high, runs up, now you can start to eliminate some risk. Instead of invalidating underneath there, you know, now you can put over there, and then it gives you a better risk to reward ratio. Okay. What else? Let's see. Let me just quickly scroll through the comments over here. 𝗤𝗐. I haven't looked at 𝗤𝗐 for a long time, but let's have a look at 𝗤𝗐 and see what's going on over here. 𝗤𝗐. Let's see. 𝗤𝗐 the ordinals. Okay. Monday range. Let's get some perspective on the daily though. Okay. How are we doing on the daily? It's at a resistance zone. This is a pretty critical point. Where is that yearly open? Okay, it's very high up. Yearly open is very high up. Let's just see over here, right? So you have your SR flip. You know, it looks like you're attempting to flip this. So probably look at if you are looking for longs, again, look at the Monday low. If you can sweep that Monday low, I'm not even convinced you're going to get that sweep. But if you could sweep the Monday low over there, that becomes the long trade. And that long move up to the Monday high would, essentially be considered the SR flip of this pink zone, right? If you get up to the Monday high, you flip that level and then you target the yearly open. All right. Okay, cool. Let me just see. What else did we have? We have one second, guys. I just want to see. I think I had some notes over here. Let me just not dox everything that I have. Let's see. Okay, what do we have? Okay, you guys asked for 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 AI. I see over there. Okay, let's go back on screen. Okay, 𝗨𝗂𝗄𝗧. Let's see how 𝗨𝗂𝗄𝗧 is doing. Okay, AI sector. Let's go into the daily. Okay, I would say you want to hold the previous month's mid. Invalidation is still below there. This could be a lower high, which is why you need to be really, really sticky and careful about your entry on this. But yeah, same thesis. I would rather wait for the sweep. I mean, do we consider that a sweep? This is already a sweep. Basically, if you really zoom in, you've already swept that level. That was the sweep, right? So theoretically, stop loss below there. If you want a super tight stop below the Monday low. Sometimes you do sweep twice. If that does happen and it takes you out, you have to relook the entry. Okay, the next one that you guys asked for, WMTX. There we go. World Mobile Token. How's this one done? World Mobile Token. Let's have a look. Okay, Monday low. Let me just zoom in a bit. Hasn't swept it yet. Let's go on the daily. Okay, nice little consolidation range over there. Yearly open is all the way on the top side. Pretty much similar to the rest of the coins. You know, if you sweep the Monday low and it tags the previous month's mid-range, which is coming in at 17.45, that should hold. That becomes your buy zone. Tight stop loss just below those lows. And then you can ultimately look to target towards the yearly open. So those are the trades, right? Yearly open for the most part. And I think this is also, if you could just go back to Ansem's tweet over here where he says, remember, if you feel that you're too late and we're shifting bullish, then none of the coins have even made all-time highs yet. And most, look at this part, most haven't left their accumulation ranges, right? And if we go back to this chart, most haven't left their accumulation ranges. Where is the accumulation range, right? It should be easy to see. When you have the key levels on, it should be relatively easy to see, right? Your accumulation range here is part of your accumulation range. This is the accumulation range, right? You haven't even left the accumulation range. So if we're going way, way, way higher, then you consider the markdown phase over here. Just turn that off. Try that again. Then you consider this markdown phase over here and the reaccumulation. When you break out, that's your reaccumulation and your deviation of the range levels. Okay, cool. Aptos, sure. Let's have it. Didn't we look at Aptos already? I feel like I just looked at that, but let's go. Aptos. Daily time frame. Okay, this one swept the Monday low, right? So this swept the Monday low. Theoretically, you have a long trade opportunity over there up to the yearly open. Let's go on to the hourly. This is probably the closest of the lot that we've looked at that are basically in a trade zone right now because you've just swept it. You've literally just swept it, right? So that's the long trade. Stop loss goes below over here. There it is. Stop loss goes below. Of course, you can get a little bit more technical with your setup. Maybe if you want to wait for greater confirmation, let's go on the 5-minute time frame. So there it is. This is a perfect trade for any of you out there. Okay, perfect trade for anyone out there. Let's just make this nice and clean. All right. So let's tighten that up. All right, I'll be looking at something like that. So you can, if you want the safe entry, you can probably just wait for this to squeeze up a bit more. If it breaks that trend, right? You've broken this trend line over here. Wait for a little bit of a throwback. Maybe you get something like that. Look at the structure over here. Little high lows that are forming on the 5-minute time frame. Stop loss goes over there. And then you can squeeze this up to Monday high. And then possibly if it breaks out of that, a scalp trade. This is the scalp trade, right? The scalp trade or the short-term trade is to trade it to the Monday high. But if it leaves that level and you lead to massive expansion higher, you can start to trade up to the yearly open. Cool. Does that make sense? Let me know in the comments. If you appreciate that, smash the like button. I'll quickly give you as well, I'll spoon feed it for you, right? With the actual entry over here. So you'd essentially be looking at something like this, right? Stops go over there. Trading to the yearly open, 2.67 to 1 risk reward ratio. Everything comes with risk. What is your risk? That's your risk, right? 3.23% move against you would stop you out. You know, theoretically, you could also, if you like a really nervous trader, you can just trail or track that stop loss. You can track that trend line over there. So you're coming into a pretty critical point, right? If you wait a few more minutes after the show, you should see the break of this. So let's quickly clean this up a bit. This is Aptos, right? Aptos, we're looking at Aptos. Wait, let's get that. That thing is annoying me. Let's just remove that. Okay, so you can see you're reaching the apex on this 5-minute scale. Downtrend, uptrend. Where's the apex? This is the apex over here as you approach the end of that zone. It's either going to break up or down, right? Which one's it going to be? So if it does start to break down, then say, well, maybe I'll invalidate and wait for lower. You don't have to necessarily enter here. You can wait for either that, hold, and then long. Or maybe it does this, right? In the next few minutes, maybe it breaks down, comes back to the Monday low, and gives you another chance. Okay, so it's a game of patience. Just simply wait. Just wait. How long is this going to take to play out? This is going to be, it's going to happen. You'll reach the apex of this in the next hour. It's like 11:25 my time. By 12:30, you're going to have your answer in the next hour. Okay, so we'll mark that one off on the list. I'll drop this in Whale Room as well, guys, and I'll update you for the Whale Room members on this exact trade once we reach that apex. Okay, so if you're not in Whale Room, guys, jump into Whale Room. Whale Room is the private Discord. Here it is. This is Whale Room. Let's just quickly pull this into your viewpoint. 1 second. There it is. Okay, there's Whale Room. Whale Room is our private Discord. You got like 4 professional trading coaches over here that are helping you throughout, giving you trades, you know, each step of the way. We're making a lot of profit over here. If you want short-term trading, medium time frame trading, you want you know, swing trading, whatever it is that you want, we have it over here for you. So there is a link in the description below for those of you that do want that. Okay, cool. Let me know in the comments anything else. What else, guys? What else? Any other requests? This one we'll mark off on our list, right? We've got to keep an eye on this one. Aptos. Okay, grass. Yes, let's have a look at grass. Let's quickly go to grass. There it is, grass. US people are getting excited about get grass again for some reason. Let's have a look. I mean, to me, this is still a downtrend, right? Look, it's in a reaccumulation zone, but you have the parallel channel that's been respected. You know, will you come back into the zone? I'm not sure. We have to give it a little bit of time. Let's go on the 4 hour. Okay, you haven't even put in much of an uptrend over here on the 4 hour time frame. In terms of the Monday levels, well, you just swept the Monday low. There it is, right? You just swept the Monday low. So same thesis, 5-minute chart. Let's have a look over here. Okay, I mean, I feel like you kind of missed it. I would have taken the trade over here. This was at 9:40. So about 2-3 hours ago, I would have probably taken over here. Stop loss below. Maybe you'll break it one more time and revisit that Monday low region. So keep an eye on that. That's your 5-minute time frame. Invalidations would be over here. You know, maybe you do something like this. Drop that one more time, and then you look for another opportunity on Get Grass. Trade up to the previous month's high. These are only short-term trades. Short-term trades only. Wait. What are we doing over there? Okay. 𝗖𝗥𝗍𝗄. For those of you that want a TradingView account, by the way, I saw they're currently running a special. I don't get anything out of it. There's no affiliation or anything. Just if you want a TradingView account, they do have a special. It's 80% off or something. I don't know why they're doing it right now, but there is a special. Let me just clean that up so it's not so messy. Okay, Monday low in terms of a short-term trade opportunity. Yes, you just swept the low over there. Same story, right? Exactly the same as the rest of them if you're trading the Monday range. Confidence can kick in on the long if you start to break this trend line. Okay, I'm a little bit underwater on this trade. I had a long on this one as well. All right. What else, guys? Cardano. Let's see some of the bigger coins like XRP with this Monday range. I'm curious. How's it looking? XRP. We'll go to this one on Binance. Okay, it's in the middle. So nothing really over there. Nothing on XRP. 𝗖𝗥𝗍𝗄, nothing over there. Cardano. Okay, deviated the Monday already, the Monday low, swept that level, reclaimed. Same story as the rest, right? Your Monday high is actually above your yearly open on this one. All right. Pengu, sure. Let's have a look at Pengu. Pengu USDT. Okay, yeah, this one, no way you can take a long on this. I mean, this one's already almost traded back to the Monday high. So if anything, this can be your head short on a short-term scale, right? Let's see what the high time frame looks like. I mean, the high time, I don't know if I'd short this, guys, because the market has a lot of momentum still. So even though if you're looking on a low time frame like that, I'd prefer to only look for longs off of the Monday low sweep. That's it. I wouldn't, if you sweep the Monday high, personally, I don't know, unless it's on something big like Bitcoin, I wouldn't necessarily be looking for short trades, because this can easily just squeeze, right? These things move very, very, very aggressively. Okay, 𝗪𝗡. Let's have a look at 𝗪𝗡. 𝗪𝗡 USDT. Oh, damn it. We just deleted that. Let's go back there. Okay, we're still in the long trade over here. Let's see if you can take it again based on the Monday trade. You haven't swept yet. No sweep yet. If you do sweep that into the previous month's high, nice trade opportunity over there. Like I'd basically just long the previous month's high, sweep back into the Monday low, stop loss under the previous month's high, and continuation. Okay, daily. Let's see on the daily for 𝗪𝗡 though. Yeah, pullback territory, right? So you want to see this area hold. You can see this is a clear SR flip region, right? This is an important zone over here. Can see previous support, resistance, resistance comes down. You want to flip that now into support, and you want to see this run. Alrighty, cool. We looked at Casper. We already did Casper. Guys, I do want to remind you, I'm literally paying you if you join Whale School for this particular cohort. The first 1,500 of you that join, you need to first have one of these exchange links. Then you come through over here and you click on specifically Whale School, put in your email address over there, sign up, join us the next cohort, right? This is starting in 6 days' time. I'd love to have you over there. A whole lot of fun. We learn a bunch of things. And then, of course, you got the Pionex bots as well. All right. Other than that, I'll update the Whale members on the Aptos trade. I'll catch the rest of you on the next one. I hope you have an absolutely stellar, wonderful, wonderful day wherever you are in the world. That's it from me, and cheers for now.